my name's Tuppence. I've got a new jar mould from Temu, and this one comes with a lid, and this is the top of the lid. It's a flat one, so it's going to be great for building things up. The bottom will fit into the top of the jar, and that means you can put all kinds of stuff on here, stickers, and build it in as you're actually creating the jar lid. So I'm going to have a play around today. I've got a few things to... Oh, I forgot to mention, the pot itself has some ribs on it. I'm going to play with some pigments. I've got a white epoxy pigment and I've got some alcohol inks. Lagoon, Fuchsia, Lucky Green and Honey. And these are all Octopus fluid inks. I'm going to be creating a rainbow pot, I hope. I've mixed up 240 mils of craft resin. And I'm just going to add a little bit to this silicone pot so that I can mix up my pigment before I put it in the resin. This paste is pretty thick, and trying to mix that into a very large amount of resin, it's not easy. So if I just use a little bit of resin first and get that mixed in, it will make it a lot more fluid, and that should mix into the large amount of resin much easier. I've already used this a couple of times, so I don't need to stir it. I'm going to add that to the resin, try and get this mixed in, make sure I get rid of all of the lumps. You can see immediately it's a little bit more runny. Okay, I think that's mixed in enough, got rid of the lumps. I'm just cleaning off my stick to get rid of that thick paste that is on there. And now I can add this into the resin. Whoops, I nearly spilt that. So this has now become a lot more fluid and it should mix in really easy. I'm just going to scrape out my cup. So I think I forgot to mention that this pigment came from Apex Resins. It's called Supreme White. And it's a really strong pigment, so you don't need a lot of it. I'm not looking for an opaque colour here. I want this to kind of be like milk glass. I've mixed it up till I've got rid of all of the streaks, and if I tip the cup slightly you can see it looks like really watery milk. So I think that'll be okay. Now I'm going to take my colours, my alcohol inks, and I'm going to tip them around the outside of the mould. There's no point putting them on that middle section because they'll just get lost on the inside, and I want to be able to see this from the outside. So I'm just going to drizzle it so that it runs down those stripes. So that was the honey. This is Lucky Green. I'm going to try not to put colours that might muddy, like the fuchsia and the green. I don't really want those together, but to be honest with you, it's going to drop down to the bottom of the mould and they're going to mix anyway, so this is going to be potluck. Right, that was Lucky Green. This is Lagoon. So again, I'm going to drop that down the inside. And some of it is going on the middle. I'm not going to worry about that because once these colours mix, once I pour the resin in, it will rise up anyway. The last one is Fuchsia. So a couple of drops of that. But there you go. Right, now I'm going to take my resin and I am going to pour that in the middle and just let it run down. And you can see it's already picking up some of the colours. And then hopefully they're going to rise up from the bottom as well. Oh wow, yeah. Alright. Just let that settle for a few minutes. You can see some bubbles coming out. So I don't want to be squeezing the bottom of this, so I'm just going to lift it up gently and tap it. And hopefully that will let any bubbles that might be stuck around the bottom dislodge. If I start poking and squidging that, I'm going to mix all my colours together. So I'll carry on topping this up. Just doing it a little bit at a time, giving everything a chance to settle. I'm almost there. Is taking up more than I thought it would, to be honest, but it's quite a big pot, so oh look, the colours are coming over the bottom. There's an awful lot of red in there though, or fuchsia, not red, and I've definitely got fuchsia next to that green, so it'll be interesting to see what that does. Okay, I think that is fine. Let me see how much I've used. Right, so I have got about 80 to 90 mils left in here, and I'm pretty sure that takes more than 100 mils. I have used that once before, so I'm not going to have enough. I will have to mix a little bit more up. But I'm going to add some colour to this, and I'm going to put it around the lip. There's no point me putting that on the bottom because that'll be the bottom of the lid and you won't see it. But there is a small lip around the outside of this, so I am going to put some drops of colour around there. So I've got my green and my honey. I think there's quite a lot of green in the pot itself, so I'm not going to add too much of that. That's the fuchsia. And then I just have the Lagoon as well. There we go. All right. Now if I pour this in the middle, once it rises up over that lip, it should pick up those colours. Let me just pour that in, and already they're starting to move into the middle. So as I haven't got enough, I need to make sure that I scrape every bit out. And I'm going to try and make sure that it just drops into the middle. Keep that circle of clear in the middle, because I'm loving that pattern. There we go. Let me scrape that down. Almost there. Alright, can I get some more out? Just drop that in the middle as well. Oh. I cannot even tell you what happened there, but that cup flew out of my hands and it's whacked my lid, ruined the pattern. Oh, I made a great big mess. Honestly, I'm going to have to deal with that in a few minutes. But there are just some days where you shouldn't get out of bed. Never mind, I'm going to carry on and I'm sure it will be fine. So I'm just going to finish scraping out what I can. I nearly did it again. Look, it's on my cup where it dropped into the lid. Ay. Alright, nearly there. Let me see if I can get any more out. I'm now dipping my tissue in there as well. Okay, we're almost there. Let me just get the last of that resin out, pop it in the middle. And I've just realised I forgot to put them on the tray of my G3 curing machine, so I'm going to have to leave these here and let them cure. And I'll be back when they're ready. I'm back. These are cured. This is still a little bit soft, but I just want to have a look at it. I'm not going to demould it yet. I will demould everything all together. But I'm a little bit worried about some of the areas here. They look like they could be muddy, but I'm not going to tell until I demould that. So I'm just going to set that off to the side, and here is my lid. So I do need to top this up. It is not full yet, but I'm really happy with the way that that looks. I'm going to be putting a clear coat on there and then setting something in it. But yeah, I'm really happy. I love the way that that looks around the outside. So I'm looking forward to demoulding that and finding out what's going to happen. I'm going to set that off to the side, and I'm going to bring on my tray. And I've got my bunnies. Now I want to create this bunny, and I'm going to put him in the lid. I'm going to keep the bunny pretty thin, so I have mixed up 20 mils of craft resin. And I'm going to add this powder to it. It's the iridescent blue from Luminart, and this should give me a kind of moonstone effect. So I'm going to put a couple of small scoops in there and get that mixed in. Okay, hopefully all that powder's dissolved. It's giving me a nice milky white with a blue shimmer on the top that looks a little bit like moonstone. So I'm going to set this off to the side. Just give my stick a quick wipe, and I'm going to squirt this mould with a little bit of isopropyl alcohol just to help some of the bubbles disperse along the bottom, because there's quite a lot of right angles around the edge of the mould. All right, now I can pour this in. So I'm going to pour it in pretty slowly. I'm not just going to dump it all in because I may not need all of this. The whole of the rabbit takes 55 mils. So I figure that 20 mils, maybe even 10, will be enough. Just try and pour that in the bottom and not up the sides. Alright, I think maybe that is probably enough. I'm going to try that. Just having a look down the side of the mould to see if I can see it. And yeah, now I think I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to spray the rabbit that's next to it with a little bit of isopropyl because I've still got some resin left over. Squidge that around the bottom and then I use this up and I'll end up with an extra bunny. These things always do seem to multiply. So I'm just going to tip all of that in and hopefully this will be thick enough. I can use it for something else. I like to make an Easter tree. Does anybody else do that? I've got a lovely forsythia bush in my garden and I cut that. Might as well use a little bit in there. I cut that, put that into a jar and then I just hang decorations from it. Let me know in the comments, do you have Easter trees? I don't know if that's just a sort of odd thing that we do or if it is a traditional thing. I'm going to take a microbrush stick and run around the outline of the bunny. Get right down into that crease. Make sure that there are no bubbles in there. And help to smooth out the resin. No matter what I do, I am going to end up with a little dip on the back because I haven't filled up the mould and the surface tension will pull it up slightly at the edges. But that's okay, it will be fine. I'm using craft resin, as I say, and that is a low viscosity resin. So I'm going to leave these on here. I will let them degas for 45 minutes to an hour and then I'm going to pop the curing machine on and cure them for 2 hours. These are ready to demold, but because they are pretty thin, they're very soft. So I need to be careful because I could tear them. So I'm just going to try and get them out. The heart is the hardest part. It kind of holds them in. You can see how soft they are. They're a little bit bendy. So I'm just going to flatten that, press it against the table and leave it to cool down. That's looking pretty good. And let me try and get this one out. I wonder if I can push that heart through first. No, it doesn't want to go through. Alright, so I'm just going to gently try and get that heart out. Put my hands on either side or my fingers on either side and push with my thumb. Now I've just got to wiggle the front legs out and the ears. There we go. I'm just going to flatten it on the table and leave it to cool down. Time to fill up the lid. I'm really happy with the pattern in here, apart from just this bit here. That's where the cup fell in. So I'm going to use clear resin and that will allow me to set the rabbit in as well. Now technically this is the top of the rabbit, but I am going to push that down onto the mould because it's flattest, it won't trap bubbles and it's not that attractive. There are a couple of bits of unmixed in mica and if I flip this over you can see that all of that iridescent sheen rises to the top of the mould, so it's on the back of the rabbit. And as I quite like that effect and I really want to see it, I'm going to fill up the rabbit and top coat it. This will help to slightly dome it. I'm going to use some more of the iridescence and that means that the blue should float, that blue sheen should float on the top. Now I just need to figure out how I want to arrange this, and if I do it carefully I might be able to cover up that bit that I don't like. But if I do that, that is hidden behind his ears, but I lose the rainbow. So I think I definitely want that rainbow, and if I twist it around I get a little bit in the heart and then it's coming out behind his ears. So I think that's the way I'm going to put it. Yeah, I like it, and I'll just have to live with that bit up in the corner. Alright, he only just about fits in there and he is going to stick up a little bit proud of the lid as well. So I've mixed up my resin. I have got 40 mils of Apex 1 coat, which is a thick fast set cure. This will cure 2 hours in room temperature, but I am going to be putting it in the G3. So I'm just going to pour that around the outside I'll try not to get anything on the rabbit, although it won't matter if I get 1 or 2 drops, because I am going to coat it anyway. Hopefully I'm going to have enough of this left over so that I can mix some of that powder in. I don't think I need a lot to bring this up to the surface of the mould. Right, let me just grab a microbrush stick so I can go around the edges. Now, if I have broken the seal at any point when I've been moving this lid around, that would mean that some of this resin could run down the sides, but because it's clear, hopefully it shouldn't make too much difference and won't be noticeable. So I've got something in there. Let me just try and hook that out. It's just a little speck of something. Okay. Right. That is nice and smooth. It looks like I've still got a little bit more room to add some more, so I'm just going to top that up. I don't want to dome the lid or bring up the level of the resin so that it overflows the rabbit, although I think the rabbit's too thick for that anyway. I've got quite a lot of resin left, so I am going to decant some into a little cup, and hopefully that will be enough for the rabbit. The other bit I can use for something else. I'm going to add my iridescent powder and get that mixed up. Well, the smartest move would have been to wait for the resin that is on the lid to completely cure before I try and do this, but I already had the resin there and I've mixed it up, so I am going to attempt this now. I've put some on top of the rabbit and I'm going to use a microbrush stick to guide that to the edges and hope that I don't overflow. If I do, then this mica is going to mix into that clear resin and it's going to cover up the pattern underneath. That's not what I'm looking for. I am going to speed this up, hopefully just dome the rabbit, and then once I've got that done, I'm going to set everything aside, let it cure for about an hour, and then I'll just finish it off in the G3. I don't want to risk that going over, but I do have some bubbles, so I'm going to use a torch to pop those. Then I'm going to leave this for about an hour and then I'll put the machine on to cure it. Everything is cured and it's time for me to get them out of the mould. Now I've filled this one up really full, so I don't know if I can grab hold of the mould to release the suction. Just try and get my nail down there, such as it is. No, let me grab this and then I can just prise that back a little bit. As soon as you break the seal and grab hold of it, there we go. It's easy. Ooh, I do have some bubbles. I have lots of bubbles. Well, that's disappointing. I really thought that the alcohol would help with that, but there are a lot of little bubbles around there. Luckily, they are pretty much on the bottom, so I'm not going to worry about them, but I can fill them with UV resin. I'll do that at a later date though, not in this video. Oh, I like the colours. That's really pretty, even the parts that are slightly darker. Oh, that's nice too. But it doesn't look very round to me, so I think that has got bent out of shape. It's still a little soft, so maybe I can fix that. But the colours are lovely. Even this area here where the green and the fuchsia mix, it's not too bad. Love that. So let me just fold the mould the right way round. There's a little bit stained with the alcohol, but I'm sure that'll be fine. And now I can demould the lid. And hopefully, even though it's not round, I'm still going to get it to fit. Let's take that off. Oh yes, I love those colours on the side. That is so pretty. I am really happy with that. Let's see if it fits. And let me give it a squish. Yep. Okay, well it does fit if you squish it down. Yeah, I definitely need to try and sort that out. But it looks great together. I'm loving the way the colours are flowing from one to the other. I've got a bit of a sharp edge along the top of the lid because I didn't dome it. So I'll need to fix that. Yeah, happy. I like that a lot. Okay, Let me see if I can fix this. I might heat that up and then reshape it. I used my heat gun to heat it up while I was squeezing it into shape. And then I popped the lid on, hoping that that would hold it in its shape as it cooled down. Because the pot though is still pretty soft and I've just warmed it up, I was worried that they may stick together. So I found a jar that was just the right size and I put that inside the pot, and hopefully this should hold it in shape until it cools down. Now I can deal with the lid. It's got that sharp edge around the outside and I need to get rid of that. I could top coat it, but I have had enough of resin for a while. So I'm going to use a file. This is a woodworking file. I'm just going to gently take off that sharp edge. It is going to leave a little bit of a scuff mark, but I can deal with that in a minute. So I'm just going to carefully go around and make it nice and smooth. Yes, I've sped this up, but it doesn't take very long. And because the resin is still soft, this is the best time to do it. Just get rid of all of the dust and check for any sharp areas. I have got a dust mask on, but you can see that it's a little bit scuffed, so I want to cover that up, and the best way for me to do that is to use a chrome marker. I'm using the copper one, and this is from J Diction. I'm keeping the coaster on the table. I've got my hand flat on the table as well, so that I can just run this around the edge, and I'm just turning the coaster as I go. So this is a little bit of a well-worn pen, so sometimes the nib doesn't always dispense any of the ink, but I can just go over the area again. I'm trying to turn it by holding that bunny in the middle so that I don't put my fingers on the edge where I've just put down the fresh ink, because it's going to take a little while for it to dry. So just keep going round, running it along that edge, and that will cover up the scuff and it will make it look pretty and finished too. Just a little bit of bling. Alright, just got a few areas I've got to go back over. This needs to dry before I can pick it up and put it back onto the pot, which will have hopefully cooled down and set back into its round shape. And that's it, that's all I'm going to do. This is such a simple technique and I think the results are stunning. I love that rainbow. I hope you do too. If you do, please give me a thumbs up, comment, share the video if you're able to, hype if you can, and subscribe if you haven't. It's free. You'll be able to find out what I'm going to make next time, and you'll also help my channel. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for the photos. Take care. Bye.